Hi, and welcome to Women Entrepreneur Spotlight. I am so excited to have today with me Anne DeAngelis, owner of Champagne and Stars Event Decor. Anne retired from a 20-year career as a high school teacher and college professor and turned her passion for everything vintage, furniture refinishing skills, and eye for design into Champagne and Stars Event Decor. Anne, thank you for joining me. And how is the summer so far?
Thank you for having me, Deb. I'm really excited. Summer's been relaxing, busy, but also very relaxing. So I'm really fortunate that we took some great trips this year, and I really spent time with my family, which is important.
Very much so. Oh, that is great. And it's been a little hot this summer, though.
Oh, yeah. Yes, for sure.
But that's okay. I'll take that. I'm not a winter person anymore.
So I'm the opposite. I'm a winter. I would take fall and winter over summer.
Oh my goodness. All right. So 2 questions to get us warmed up. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
So definitely Massachusetts. I love New England. As I just mentioned, I love fall and winter weather. So you certainly get a nice dose of that up there. I was in Concord, Massachusetts last year. It was my first time. I had been to Boston and Salem many times, never in Concord, and I really fell in love with it. So if I could relocate, I think I would go there.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful up that
It
way.
is.
What's your favorite app on your phone and why?
So Splice. I use Splice quite a lot for making reels and all the videos that I have to post on social media. I know a lot of folks use CapCut. I haven't mastered that yet. So Splice is definitely my go-to app.
Oh, that's great. And I love asking this question because I've learned about different apps.
Yeah, I'll bet.
All right. So first profession, high school teacher and then college professor. First, thank you for being a high school teacher and
Mhm.
college professor. That is not an easy job.
No,
Right?
no, it's not.
Was there something that directed you into the teaching field?
Actually, my path it's a little bit circuitous. I started as a biology pre-med major in college. I went to Widener University and I thought I want to be a doctor. Forensic science was just becoming a thing in terms of, pop culture and people having an awareness of this field of science. So I thought I want to work in some kind of a forensic lab for the FBI. I did a year of that and it wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
So I decided to shift gears a little bit. I always liked writing and just rhetoric. And so I said, well, I will be an English major and I'm going to go to law school and then I'm going to go into the FBI. My father was a Philadelphia police officer for many, many years. He just retired after like over 40 years being a cop. He was a little leery about me going into law enforcement. I don't know. I wish I could, in answer to your question specifically, I wish I could remember who got a hold of me and said, hey, what about becoming an English teacher? I don't know if it was a college advisor, someone said it to me. And I said, hey, why not? And so I started taking education classes and officially decided I want to teach in secondary ed and be a high school English teacher. And that was my path.
And that's where you ended up. Wow.
Yep.
Teaching is oh my gosh. Now I have 4 children in the school system and all I can do is say thank you, and thank you.
Welcome.
I
loved it.
absolutely. Did you?
I did. I really did. I loved it for a long period of time.
Yeah, 20 plus years, right? And then so from high school into the college.
Yes, I decided I wanted to get my doctorate. After I got the doctorate, I started adjuncting at one university. And then I wound up adjuncting at the university where I earned the doctorate. I thought this is the next step. I'm getting older. I'm going to move into higher education. Started doing that. It was a little bit more of the same. It wasn't quite as different as I thought it was going to be.
Really?
And by that point, I was already starting to sour on being in education. And so I just knew I don't think this is the road I'm going to take.
And what year was that? Where are we on the timeline?
I was probably in year 18 by that point, and I had been juggling, teaching college, teaching high school full time. It was really by year 19 that I had just that moment of truth. What am I going to do? And had a conversation with my husband about walking away from teaching, just all of it. and decided, okay, I'm going to do it.
And what year was that? Are we just before COVID?
It was right before COVID. So my last year I finished out the 2018-2019 school year. So by the end of that school year, I had 20 years of teaching at that point.
Did you find at that point, at that 20-year mark, the difference in students' attitudes?
I did. Not only were the kids different, but the parents were different. The lack of support. I really felt like when I went to work every day, I was already on the defensive. That's not fair to the kids, that I'm going in to teach, that I already feel like I'm gearing up for an argument today. And it wasn't healthy for me either. I saw the era of helicopter parenting, the idea of hovering over your kids and micromanaging. It had shifted into, whatever the term is now, bulldozer parent or lawnmower parent, the idea that the kids can't have any obstacles in their way. The parents are going to just move everything out of the way.
Right.
For me as a teacher, trying to teach these kids not only English literature, but life skills, there was a lack of respect from the kids. I ran a very tight ship in my classroom. I just commanded respect from these kids. And I do think that they appreciated that. It's funny because kids balk at discipline and structure, but it's actually something that they really do need.
Absolutely.
Thrive when they have it. And I feel like I provided that. But I just started to see them have a lack of respect for me, just learning in general, and just not a lot of pride or respect in themselves. And that was devastating for me to see that shift in the kids, because it wasn't always like that.
No. And it almost like you didn't even gradually get into that. It just kind of like, it just happened.
Yeah, I agree.
Just looking back at it myself.
Yeah.
And so, all right. So you come up to just before COVID, you decide that teaching is no longer, in your path, your journey anymore. And you decide and talk it over with your husband. And then you decide to do what?
So I decided I'm going to take a little bit of time to figure out what my next thing is. And you think to yourself, and I had this conversation with my husband many times, I'm a teacher, I'm an educator. That's all I know how to do. And it was really him who said, listen, I want you to make a list of all of the skills that you have as a teacher. And I did that. Just record keeping, organization, creativity. He said, look at all of these really great skills. These things are really transferable into other fields and industries. Like, you have to just open your mind a little bit, stop thinking so narrowly. And so I thought, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm going to go into educational publishing, maybe content writing for textbooks, because I knew teaching wasn't what I wanted to do, but I could still stay in education. And then I just got to the point where I said, no, I don't think I want to do that either. I want to do something different and new. Had a little bit of a crisis, and just in having conversations decided, I think I want to work for myself. And I want to do something fun and creative, and just had those conversations, and the idea for the business was born that way.
And you have a unique hobby, I would call it back then. I'll take that back. You have a passion. You had a passion. And what is that passion?
So I love throwing themed parties. And I've been doing it for quite a while. I can remember having one of our kids for his birthday. We did a haunted house themed party, and I literally turned every room of the house into some different scary horror aspect. I had my family members dressing up as Dracula and Frankenstein. No one was immune from being asked to participate, and it was a really good time. We host a lot of things at our house, and I did a Parisian Mother's Day. Ooh. One year. I had all of the ladies in the family doing impressionist painting. People just indulge me. Oh, that's, it's what she does. So I thought, yeah, hey, why not take that and turn that into, I don't know, something that I could market. People do like themed parties. It is a thing. And since it's my thing and other people like it too, I could have a business doing this.
Absolutely. So that started the wheels turning.
Yeah.
And had you ever done anything like what you're doing now prior, or was it just always with family members yourself? And did you do it for other family members at their homes?
No, because everyone comes to me. So okay. I tend to be the one that has all of the parties. No, I started having a Christmas party annually we did that for many years. And I invited all of my coworkers, neighbors, family, and we would have these themed parties. I would encourage people to dress up. I never really had family members asking me. I know a lot of people, their journey is they started, doing the
Right.
job really without being paid for it. They were just doing it for friends and family.
That's right.
That's not really how that worked out for me. Um,
Okay, so then you're ending your teaching career.
yeah,
You ended that. We're getting closer to 2019 with COVID.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so you had you retired by then, or
I
did
did.
everything come crashing all at one time?
No, so I retired in June of 2019. That was my last school year. I finished out the year. I mean, I
Okay.
wasn't going to leave the kids or my colleagues
Right.
hanging like that. So I finished out the year, knew I wasn't coming back, and I started, filing the necessary paperwork to get the licensure to have a business in Delaware, and really just started, revving up to do something. And then COVID hit.
All right. So you just kind of reminded me, let everybody know where they can find you, get in touch with you.
Yes. So I have a website. It's champagneandstarsdecor.com. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook at Champagne Stars One.
Okay. All right. So, okay. So then you are applying for your licensures, you're
Mhm.
getting your planning, and
Yep.
then you get into what's next.
Well, COVID.
There you go.
I was stopped in my tracks. The one thing that I hear from people in this industry, even some of the guests that you've had on your show, they were already in business. And
Yes.
so this was a really, I mean, it was a terrible blow to the trajectory that they were on, because they had just gotten their footing and they were doing something.
Yep.
I really didn't have that. So I feel a little fortunate that COVID, everything shut down. It gave me time to just really work on figuring out how I wanted to execute the business. As things started to open up a little bit, gathering inventory, but events really weren't happening. So I wasn't really missing out on business.
Right.
By the time everything opened up, I was ready. And so
Right.
I could just start.
So you took your time with the planning.
For sure.
Did you put a business plan together?
I did. You Google, how do you start a business? You start very generally. I've seen Shark Tank, so I know about business plans, and I went online. I found a very simple template, and filled it in, and it really just gave me an opportunity to think about, okay, what are the goals, with what is the business, what are the goals, and how do I get there, what do I need to do in order to get there. So and being a teacher, I love graphic organizers and templates, so it was
There you go.
definitely helpful. It was helpful for me.
And would you recommend having a business plan in place for other women entrepreneurs?
Sure. I mean, it can't hurt. I didn't have to consult anyone. All I did was Google, and I found one that worked for me, and it just really gave me an opportunity to organize my thoughts.
Yeah, because I've told other women too, even if it's just at the simpler the better in the beginning, because
Sure.
it will evolve over time, and
Yeah,
you can change it, you can add to it going down the line. All right, so
absolutely.
then you get everything in place, you have
Mhm.
everything ready to go. And so when did you start the business?
Yeah, so as soon as events, everything opened up and events were starting to happen, I was also, during this time, I was working on having a website built. I had hired a web designer to do that for me. And so I was able to get on social media, which I was not on previously. So a friend of mine said, you need to actually get on social media. So I figured all of that out,
Ah,
was able to publicize the website is up, and I was open for business. And yeah, it took a while, but bookings started to trickle in, and okay, this is a real thing. I'm actually doing this.
it's exciting.
Yeah, it was.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Social media for everybody these days.
Oh yeah.
That's almost a job in itself.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's the worst part. It's the worst part of the job, but it's necessary, and it definitely has pros, for sure.
Absolutely. But then you have referrals, and I think
Yes.
that's also the best way to go too when you get those personal
Yes.
referrals. So, all right. So then did you start acquiring your inventory during COVID?
I did, but after they started allowing things to open up,
Okay.
yeah, I would go to estate sales. thrift stores, antique shops. Facebook Marketplace is also, I just find that another person's trash is someone's treasure. Especially, for me, someone that's in this business. I have a lot of vintage furniture and decor. I just took my time gathering things. I really went into this thinking I'm just doing themed events. So I had very specific visions for what I wanted my Roaring 20s package to be and what I wanted my 80s package to be. And then what happened was as things fully opened up, I started to branch out and, champagne walls and, pedestals for desserts. And you have to pivot, but still trying to stay true to my brand, as they call it, or what my original goal was with the business, with the themes. I try to still stay with that, even though it is necessary to, to have other things.
Do you have a favorite that you have done? Do you have a favorite theme that you have done?
I do. So I'm in love with F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby.
Oh my gosh.
I taught that book all 20 years that I taught high school. It was my favorite unit. I love all things 1920s. The name of the business actually comes from a line in The Great Gatsby. So that's how intertwined I am with that book. So hosting 1920s events, those are my favorite.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's great. Oh, I like that. I like that story. So how do you keep track of your inventory?
So I use a spreadsheet.
Okay.
It's got a bajillion tabs on it. I work out of my home.
Okay.
So I completely commandeered the entire basement and it's filled with furniture and a lot of small things too. So a lot of tabletop items. I have bins and shelves full of bins. And on the outside of my bins is my inventory system. So I know what's in, what's out. I've found ways to make it work for me.
Awesome. So what's been the highlight of owning and having your own business?
Just working for myself is really, it's important. I didn't realize how much I would enjoy that. Being able to close my laptop when I want to, answer an email in a timely fashion, because I always do that, but it doesn't have to be right now. I just don't have the pressure on me that I had working in the school system. So I feel like that has been, that's probably one of the best things about this.
Does it work better balancing life and work, owning your own business?
Yeah, for sure. I knew that I needed to make a shift in my career when, like I said earlier, I went to work stressed and then I came home stressed. And then I'm picking up my little ones. I've got a son and a daughter, and I'm sitting down and doing homework with them. And I just don't have any more gas in the tank. And I know a lot of working moms find that to be true as well.
Oh, absolutely.
But for me, I can only speak from my own experience. I just really felt like I had nothing left to give them. And that's so not fair to them because they're the most important thing. And when I saw myself being irritable and just really having a hard time coming home and to a second job, because parenting is hard, something has to change. Something has to give here.
Yeah. So, kudos for you to finding that balance and being able to do that. Do you block out time for family time, or do you just, you probably know when your parties are, obviously.
Yes.
So you can work around that. Is it a lot of weekend parties that you're putting together?
Yeah. Corporate events tend to be during the week.
Okay.
A lot of them, and that's okay, of your showers and weddings and parties, those are on the weekends.
Oh, okay. So you just work around it.
I do. And my kids are old, and my son is 14 now. He's 15. He's got a social life. So he's not home on the weekends a lot. And, my daughter, she's going to be 11. Wow. She's also carving out her own little social life as well.
There you go.
Play dates and friends parties and FaceTiming. So they just don't need me around as much. And I can go do what I need to do and come home and then go back and clean everything up. So it works.
Awesome. Did you have a mentor in the beginning? Do you have a mentor now?
I don't. I didn't know anyone that was in this business. I honestly, I don't know any women in my life that own their own business, if I really think about it. My husband was a huge support. He is a huge support. But I did want to mention one friend of mine. She is she taught with me, and she's an assistant principal now. So I've been really fortunate and so glad to watch her grow in, the education profession. She was one of my biggest cheerleaders, telling me, you need to leave this job and you need to do something else. And when I told her about the business, she was on board and she was so supportive. One of the very few people, actually, aside from my husband in my life, who really just had the confidence in me at a time that I didn't have confidence in myself. She designed my logo. She's wonderful. So no mentor, but those are the two people that really stood by me and pushed me to do this. And I'm so glad.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's a big support right there. So you have
Yeah,
two huge supporters helping you.
definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you have, so when you finally were officially into business, did you start having any doubts?
Yeah. Yeah. I went from being, I don't want to use the word dominating, but I went into work and I knew what I was doing and I was really good at my job and I had a lot of respect. I felt like I had a lot of esteem where I was teaching, and I lost all of that and I started at zero, not really sure what I was going to do. Okay, I'm going to start this business. I don't know how to start a business. Just the self-doubt at the beginning of this was really hard, but it's something that, you overcome because you do it. And one booking turns into two, and then you look at yourself and you say, well, I'm doing this. This is actually happening. And that gives you the confidence to keep going.
Absolutely. And that's what I like to hear so that other women hear that, because I think we've all doubt ourselves when we're
Yeah,
starting, you know, we're rough on ourselves.
for sure.
We're our own worst
Yes,
enemies
we are.
sometimes.
Yep.
What is the process when someone is ready to contact you for your services?
On my website, there is a contact form, plus all of my contact information is there, my phone number, my email. So, I mean, the easiest thing to do is go on the website. If you see some things that you like, you can use the contact form and reach out. Or maybe you just go to my site and you don't really know what you want. You can use the contact form, or you can always call me. You can text me. You can email. I mean, I'm open. Sometimes people DM me on Instagram or Facebook, which is fine. And then I always move the conversation to email because it's just easier to communicate. DMs get lost, but
Right.
any of those avenues work for me.
So when a client finally contacts you, do they have some type of idea of what they want, or do they call and say, well, I'm having a party. What should I do?
It's more the latter, which is surprising to me. I really thought this is easy. I have these couches, I have these tables, people see what they want, bing bam boom, they place an order, I deliver it. That's not how it works. And I think it's because I am coming from my perspective. When I'm having a party, I already know what I'm envisioning and
Right.
I know what I want. People don't know, and that's okay. And that's part of what I'm here to help with. And it took me a little bit to understand that. So sometimes people reach out, they are looking for, they have a certain vibe that they're going for. And from there, I can say, well, I have things in this color palette or things that fit this theme or this, the tone of the event. And we just kind of have that conversation and I try to help them get there.
I sometimes myself, it's like, what am I going to put with this? And what am I going to put with that?
Right.
Right. And
People
so
need help.
absolutely. I know I do. So when you have put everything together for your client and you present it to them,
Yes.
do you have a storyboard, or do you just use your pictures from your site? How do you work that?
Right. So if it's an easy, if the conversation is easy with a client, I want this chair and I want this couch. I use 17 hats. I know some people use Honeybook. It's
Okay.
really easy. I can send them a quote, and then if they like everything, I'll send them the contract. They pay. It's nice and easy. For the clients that really aren't sure, or I need to help them build something that fits whatever they're envisioning, I'll use Canva a lot. It's very helpful. And I will actually take pictures of my items and I will arrange them so that they can see, okay, this is the couch and this is the chair and these are the candles and this is exactly how it's going to be positioned and how it will look when I set this up. So Canva is very helpful to create those mock-ups, is what I like to call them,
Oh,
for my
awesome.
clients.
I use Canva, but not for that. So, I
Yeah.
mean, have you ever gotten into a position with a client where they maybe didn't like what you presented to them, and
I
or that
really,
you didn't like what they came up with?
all the time, all the time. They want something, and I'm like, but as my husband reminds me, it's not your party, it's their party. And if they want it, then, you just give them what they want. It's nice and easy. But for me, I'm always, I want to make a suggestion. So it's taken me time to learn when that's appropriate and when it's not. Yeah, I really never had anyone disappointed with my work. It's been quite the opposite. So I've been lucky. It's one of the good things about this job. When you're teaching, it becomes almost thankless, and you feel like you're spinning your wheels, especially, before I left, when things started to really, I got sour on it. People are so appreciative of what you do for them. They're so thankful. They're sharing your photos, or photos of your setups and referring you. So I'm actually really feeling a lot of love from my clients. I know that I'm going to encounter the disgruntled client at some point. I'm prepared. What can you do? It just hasn't happened yet. So we'll
Good.
see.
And it may never, and I'm sure it won't, because you have such a flair. I've seen your website. Do you have other people that work with you? Do you have a support team that works, or are you working by yourself?
I work by myself. I work by myself. My husband is definitely a resource. I'm always, sometimes I use him more as just a sounding board, because he'll try to offer suggestions, and I don't really want the suggestions. I just need someone to listen to me as I run through my ideas. And then there are other times where I have an idea for building something, and he's very math brained, engineering brained, and he'll be able to tell me, well, that wouldn't work. You need a support here. And he's really great for those kinds of builds that I need help with, large events where I need muscle, to help me carry something, because things are heavy.
Do you do the deliveries yourself?
We do. Yeah, I do.
Wow.
Yep. We deliver and we set up. So we've got a couple of delivery tiers, and one of them does include setup. So we'll stage and we'll set up, but but I think they're intrigued. And so they want to help me. And I usually can just pay them in lunch, or dinner and drinks after to celebrate. And they're cool with that. But scaling up is definitely, that's in the plan. And I know I have to do that. Part of me is hesitant, because then you relinquish a little bit of control.
Right.
But I have to be at peace with that, because I'm getting to the point where I do need some help.
Well, good. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely. So how long have you been in business now?
So 2019, over 3 years.
Okay. That is great growth. Absolutely. When you're definitely at that point where you're thinking about adding on. What has been one of the most valuable lessons you have learned running your own business?
I think being able to adjust and pivot is important. Again, going back to what I said earlier about having transferable skills. I mean, when you're teaching a class and you have a lesson prepared and you think that you're really prepared for everything, something happens. You have to be able to pivot very quickly and change course. Being able to transfer that skill that I had as a teacher to this business has been really, really valuable. Being patient with yourself when you're starting out. You're just not going to be great at everything when you first started. So I feel like I've learned the value of being patient, being kind to yourself. It goes a long way at the beginning.
Absolutely. Because again, we're our own worst enemies, and we doubt ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I can't do this, but yes, you can. You can do it all. All right. Tell everybody one more time where they can get in contact with you.
Yes. So I'm at champagneandstarsdecor.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at champagnestars1. You can also email me. It's info@champagneandstarsdecor.com, or you can text me or call me 302-514-3356.
Awesome. And one of my goals with Woman Entrepreneur Spotlight is to create a network of women entrepreneurs that could reach out to each other. And I would love to add your name to that list.
I would love it. And I would be so honored. Thank you.
Thank you. You have stepped into another realm of entrepreneurship, right? So Anne has started, and I like large parties, conversations, and cocktails with influential women in the events industry. So how did that come about?
So I love podcasts, and usually they're of the true crime variety, but I like to branch out and I like to listen to different things. I really enjoy them. sometimes very cathartic. You can just put it on and still do what you're doing, learn new things. So it's been something I was thinking about at the start of this year because I felt like, okay, I've got my footing in this business. So I can, focus maybe on some other projects that are related, but a little different. So I decided to start this podcast. I've met some really great women, yourself included, through social media. I feel like, the events industry, it's just so varied, and all of the services and the skills that we women in this industry have, it's so rich and varied. And I feel like I want to talk to them and I want to work with them. The idea is networking and collaboration, and also hearing a little bit about how they got into it. I just thought it would be a cool project to take on at this stage.
I
So
love it.
that's what I'm doing. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. No, absolutely. With the podcast is just exploding all over, and to have, great women in this industry and to be able to highlight their businesses also. Absolutely. Well, congratulations. Now,
Thank you.
when is it debuting?
So I'm in the process of recording episodes now and editing things. I'm hoping to launch end of September, early October.
All right. Well, we will be waiting for the update for when it will be released. I'm
Awesome.
excited for you.
Thank you.
And it has been a pleasure having you as a guest today. And if you haven't checked out Anne's website, you better be doing that right after this podcast, because you are just absolutely wonderful. I have enjoyed this conversation with you. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here. And again, Champagne and Stars Event Decor. And I wish you much success.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me.
You are welcome.